I told my older brother that his autistic son couldn't attend my celebration dinner because he wasn't going to enjoy it, and would likely cause our whole family to leave early, but my brother is fat I'm not budging and catering to his needs. My sister and I, early 30s, have an older brother. He's on his second marriage. His first marriage gave me my nephew, Connor, 15M. Connor is autistic. When he was born, at the time, sister-in-law's family was the village. My parents were also the village. My sister and I were not. This resulted in many arguments until I told my parents they could either have my brother and his family and I would go NC, or they could respect my boundaries and I'd still be around. They agreed. Eventually, my brother got a divorce because of marital problems, one of which was his ex-wife insisting that I and my sister step up and help. I felt bad for him, still do, but I wasn't going to change my stance. My sister didn't either. I have lived out of state for a bit and recently accepted a new job offer close to home. It came with a nice bonus, so I decided to invite my parents, sister, and brother out for dinner at my favorite KBBQ spot. My parents confirmed that it wasn't my brother's week with my nephew, so all was well and good. About a week before I got back home, my brother called and said his ex had something come up and that he had Connor the upcoming week and his current wife was going to be out of town with her sisters. I said no worries, and asked if he wanted to call his regular babysitter for Connor and I'd cover it for our dinner night. He said no, he wanted to bring Connor to the dinner and asked if we could change the venue because Connor gets overstimulated. I said no. This was my dinner, I'm paying for it, I'm going to my favorite place. He said your nephew really can't handle a place like that. I said yes I know. That's why I'm offering to cover paying for a babysitter for that night. He argued that he'll just bring Connor with him. I said he's welcome to do that, but then I'm not going so it'll just be him and our parents. He told me that was messed up, that if Connor gets overstimulated, he'll just take him and go outside until he calms down. I reminded him the last time we went to a KBBQ place, Connor had a meltdown and they had to leave. My parents always feel bad for Connor, so they'll usually leave and go to my brother's house to help. I said I didn't want that happening. I wanted to have a nice dinner without having to worry about that. He told me to go fudge myself and hung up. We went to dinner, my sister, my parents and I. My brother did not show up. It was a nice dinner. My parents enjoyed it too, but they said they wished my brother had come. I agreed. They then said they wished my nephew had come too. I did not agree. I said it would have likely resulted in my brother leaving after maybe 30 to 40 minutes of being there, and they would have followed him too. They agreed, but said I should have let him come anyway and just deal with it. I said that sounds like a good reason for me not to do that and we didn't talk much that night after that. Am I a jerk here? Commenter, not a jerk. Can't believe they expected you and your sister to limit yourselves and stay near them to resize their child. That's some entitled stuff. Update 1. First, I wanted to thank everybody, positive or negative, for giving feedback. Whether it was good or bad, I did read every one of them, even the ones who called me a jerk. Totally valid. While I did see my brother and Connor before I left, it was more of just playing with Connor and making small talk with my brother. I decided today to call my brother to try and get more info and smooth things out. We talked for about 5 minutes before I broached the subject. I told him I was sorry if it felt like I was being unnecessarily mean or exclusionary to Connor, but that I felt I had a right to decide how to celebrate the way I wanted to. He said he was sorry that he snapped the way he did, and looking back, he realized Connor would have had an awful time and it would have been a big waste of money for me. The place we went to was about $80 a person, $40 for Connor whether he ate or not. He just really wanted him to be there too. I told him going forward, for things like my birthday, I would be more than happy to have lunch as a family with Connor at somewhere he likes so he can have a good time, then go to dinner at somewhere I want to eat at and I'd pay for a babysitter or his mom, my brother's ex, can watch him. He asked if Connor would be welcome at the dinner too, and I said I don't think so because I still plan to have KBBQ/hot pot/ sushi/ fine dining and Connor doesn't do well in those environments, light/sound/smell/atmosphere, which is why I brought up having lunch the day of/ beforehand so we can all celebrate and it be okay for him. But I was still standing firm that for my birthday, or something like another promotion, I wanted to go somewhere that I enjoyed without having to worry. I brought up also that when he took us out to lunch, was once a month before I moved, he picked or my parents picked and they always catered to Connor. I had no problems with that and attended almost all of them. This time, I wanted something for myself. He wasn't over the moon about it, but said it sounded good and thinks Connor would enjoy it too. He also looked into getting him sunglasses, as one of you suggested, for bright/overly stimulating environments. He then had a question for me, which I knew was going to be asked at some point. Now that I'm closer to home, he asked if I was going to be more involved as an uncle. I said yes, but not in the way he probably wants. I said I'd be more than happy to go over to his house and hang out with him, his wife and Connor and bring food he likes, as well as babysitting him once or twice a month so he and his wife could go see a movie or have dinner together, but I wasn't going to be an on-call babysitter like my parents are. Several times he's dropped Connor off at their house for a week/weekend with little notice because he and his wife wanted to go on a spontaneous vacation. I told him that was not going to happen with me, especially since I'm in the process of adopting a cat and he and Connor are allergic. I wasn't allowed to have a cat while I lived in my parents' house, which was fine because it's their house and it wasn't fair to my brother and Connor who were over super often, so him getting dropped at my new place was out of the question. He thankfully didn't press the topic and said it's okay, Mom and Dad don't mind, and that he missed hanging out with me and was happy that I could be around Connor more. So, everything worked out as well as I could have hoped. I'm excited to move back home in a few weeks, and thank you all again for the advice/criticism. Update 2. 7 months later. Hi. Me again. Was hoping I wouldn't have to post here again, but well, life had other plans. I, 31M, moved back to LA from Texas for a new job. My parents live here, as does my brother, 40M, his wife, and my nephew Connor, 16. Connor is autistic, and while he's made a lot of progress since he was 10, still struggles with a lot of things. He is nonverbal, stims often, and frequently has meltdowns. My brother, his wife, his ex-wife, and my parents are the only ones really able to calm him down. I regularly watch him once or twice a month so my brother and his wife can go see a movie or hang out. I do not watch him overnight or for several days consecutively, and it's always at their house. After our argument last time, my brother and I have been on pretty good terms. He hasn't really pushed boundaries about babysitting and we've mended our relationship quite a bit. However, something came up recently that has us on rocky terms. My brother recently got news that he was selected to attend a conference out of the country. The company is putting him up in a hotel for 10 days, and while they won't pay for his wife to go, they have no problems if he pays her airfare and everything and occupies the room with him. I'm very happy my brother got this opportunity. The issue is childcare. The conference happens to align when my parents and sister are going to NYC for a week to celebrate my sister's birthday. Nothing is refundable and my parents promised my sister this over a year ago they'd do this. His ex-wife, Connor's biological mother, will also be out of town for work. So that leaves me. When he called me up to explain everything and ask, I told him no. However, I listed reasons for why I wouldn't do it. 1. I live about 90 minutes away. Distance-wise, not that far, but LA traffic makes a lot of things more difficult than they should be. I don't mind making the drive once or twice a month when I'm watching him, but I do not want to make it 10 days in a row. Connor cannot come to my place because I have a cat and he is allergic, as well as me having things around the house that are fragile. I do not work from home, and Connor would still be in school, so I would have to likely put in PTO to do it logistically. 2. The longest I've watched Connor was about 6 hours. He had a meltdown near the end that I was unable to calm him down from, and it was only my brother and his wife getting back 20 minutes later that saved me. I cannot picture myself doing it for 10 days straight. 3. This one might sound really selfish, but I don't want to set a precedent. If I watch him overnight even once, I know my brother and his wife would push it on me again. I don't want that to be a thing. I'm happy with our arrangement of me watching him once or twice a month and hanging out with him with my brother and our parents. That being said, I would not hesitate to watch him during an emergency. But that is a totally different story. I explained this all to him. He wasn't happy. He went off on me about how he thought me being back would mean he could rely on me for this. I have said before, I am not an on-call babysitter, and his wife would really like to go on this trip. I said I'm sorry, but I'm not doing this. I said I would be happy to go and help her on the weekend he's not here and hang out with Connor, to give her a break, but I'm not going to risk my own mental health for 10 days and use 8 days of PTO to watch him for a non-emergency. He had a few choice words for me and hung up. He got my parents involved in the family group chat, and they surprisingly were on my side. They said it would be a really nice gesture if I did it, but reminded him that I've never watched Connor overnight and his wife doesn't have to go on this trip. He hasn't really talked to me since. I feel bad for his wife not being able to go, but I also don't trust myself to be able to handle Connor for 10 days. Am I a jerk here? Commenter 1, it's so strange that it's not the biomom's problem? Isn't she sharing the responsibility? Oop, she had let my brother know months in advance that she could not be able to take him for a 5-day period because she will be working out of town. This was a recent development for my brother, and it was during his time with Connor. Commenter 2, Connor has 3 parents: your brother, his biomom and your brother's wife. They are the people who have primary responsibility to take care of Connor. That all 3 of them want to go off for 10 days at the same time and none of them want to stay with the kid makes them the Oz. It's their responsibility to ensure that one of them is there to look after their child. It's wild that after all these years of you saying no, your brother keeps pulling these stunts on you. You set your boundaries way back when you were in HS about not being a co-parent or on-call babysitting service. What are they still not understanding about your consistent no? Update 3. First, thank you to everyone who provided advice. I really appreciate it, and it helped know that I wasn't out of line. I messaged my brother. I said he has 2 options. Either he and or his wife stay home and watch Connor, or he works with the local agencies/care facilities. I apologize if I'm not using the right terms, to get respite care for him for as long as they are gone and I check on him during the weekend. I would not be watching him, and I will not hear him out in regards to that. He called me and his wife got on the line and said that I know how she feels about other people watching him overnight, and how his mom feels too, and she's never been to this location before and it's on her bucket list. I said I'm aware, and that I'm assuming in that case she'd be staying home with Connor and maybe she and my brother can take Connor there in the future. My brother tried to interject and I cut him off. Said I really don't care what he has to argue, I'm not here for it. As some of you suggested, I again pointed them towards local organizations and government entities dedicated to helping parents with children with special needs but didn't really get anywhere. I was really burned out over everything, so I said good luck with the situation and hung up. I made a group chat with him and his wife and told him that, going forward, I will be visiting them once or twice a month. Meaning, one of them has to be there when I'm there. I'm not watching Connor alone anymore. I feel like this is a good compromise, letting me still hang out with Connor and also not being a caretaker. I told them that, maybe in the future, we can work back towards what we had before. But not anytime soon. They both wrote back paragraphs on how they were sorry but they had no other choice and thought maybe I'd do it for them, that this could be like a second honeymoon for them, and to please keep watching him for a day or two a month. That they'd even pay me for it. I told them no amount of payment is worth it. It's not fair to me, it's not fair to Connor. He is not my son, he is theirs. That they need to start working with agencies now, and get him accustomed to care and other people watching him, because our parents are getting old and soon they won't be an option. My brother responded that he and his wife will start the process, and get his ex involved too, but if that doesn't work, what are they going to do? I told them that it's on them. I'll happily join them in researching organizations and benefits, but if they have an inkling in their head that I'm going to do for them what my parents do, they are out of their minds. His wife asked if I would consider getting training and learning how to care for Connor like they do, and I shot that down. I am more than happy to be the fun uncle that drops by and hangs out, but I value my independence and I won't let that be compromised. Both of them eventually just gave me thumbs up emojis. His wife said she was going to stay home with Connor and not go on the trip, and said they'd see me in 2 weeks to have a hangout. We'll see what happens then, but at the very least, I'm not on the hook for watching him and someone that can calm him is. I will do my best to keep pushing them to expand their circle and seek out other options and programs that help them with Connor, as I think that would greatly benefit the quality of life of all of them and prevent a situation like this from ever coming up again. Update 4. Once again, thank you for all the comments and advice. They are all greatly appreciated. I went to hang out with my brother, Sil. I realized it was strange to call her my brother's wife the whole time, and Connor over at their house. My brother ordered pizza and he played with Connor while my Sil and I hung out in the living room. My Sil, surprisingly, apologized. She said she was very sorry with the way she was acting. She told me how, coming from the Midwest and her family she's an only child, she was very used to seeing aunts and uncles take her and her cousins for a few days or weeks when parents had to do something. That they'd do sleepovers and the like, and always had parties at a different relative's house pretty regularly. She thought that based on her friends and how their families did roughly the same thing, that it was very commonplace. She did not expect me or my sister to rebuff that kind of relationship and be so against it. She said she understands now she was trying to force what she thought was normal, and she'll do her best to respect my wishes going forward. I thanked her for that. My brother came in with Connor, and while Connor was playing close by, my brother said he and my Sil planned to go therapy to come to terms with Connor getting older and start planning for the future. He said it was stupid to think our parents would be around forever, much as we both wish that. He's hoping in a few months they, my Sil and Connor's bio mom, will be comfortable enough to start leaving him overnight at respite care and with individuals trained to handle kids like Connor. My Sil joked that she hoped that in a few years, maybe they could all go to the destination my brother was going to. I was happy to hear that. I told them I am really happy they are moving forward, but I also wanted to lay out some things I want them to know. I'd be happy to go with them to check out care facilities and assisted living, I believe that is the term, facilities that Connor may go to when the inevitable happens. I'd be happy to, if something horrendous happens, make sure that their assets and savings are used to take care of Connor and his needs. I'd visit Connor at said facilities when he's there. I would not take on any kind of caretaker role now or ever. That is not something I want to do. If they ever try what they tried recently or attempted to broach the subject again, I would go LC/NC. I said this more politely than I wrote it, but that was the gist of it. I will accept being called an asshole for this, but I took some of your advice and spelled it out for them in case they weren't getting the message. I would never let Connor end up on the street, but I also would not let him live with me and I would never be his guardian/adopt him. I would make sure he is with people who can handle and care for him the right way. Both of them took it pretty well, and were happy to know that I would make sure that I'd execute their wills correctly if it came down to it. My brother apologized again about the last argument. I told him I accept his apology, but, politely, to never ask me to do that again. I reminded him that his dream was to be a dad and have a family. My dream was to travel the world. I am going to start doing that soon, probably week-long trips at most, but that I wasn't going to ever sacrifice my happiness and youth to be a caretaker. I love Connor, but he's my nephew, not my child. And that I love him, my brother, too, but there are certain things I draw the line at. We hugged it out and had a good rest of the night. So that's that. I am really hoping that they keep to their word. I am so emotionally drained from all this, that I honestly don't think I could stand another situation like what happened prior. But here's to baby steps and small victories.